How's it going, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself, and ladies and gents, we're looking at some more Monster World beta, but I'm going to give you guys my impressions on the Anjanath, or as I like to call him, Anju, or my friend likes to call him Snaz Joe. But as it stands, I just want to talk about him a little bit briefly before the game fully comes out. Kind of give my final thoughts and impressions on him, because we had 2 betas to go through. I've bought him quite a bit since then. And I've actually had to give you guys what I really think about the monster. So here we go. So first, I like to say that when we first saw him for the first time in the reveal trailer for Monster Hunter World, I unfortunately was a little unimpressed. Simply because if they really wanted to make a Monster Hunter game that was geared towards looking at everyone else, you kind of want to put your best foot forward. You want to introduce a new monster that isn't very cookie cutter. I mean, when you first look at the monster as it stands, it just looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex or anything of any sort of variation to that. So newcomers coming in, they probably look at it as like, oh, it's a dinosaur. And honestly, I mean, they didn't really shy too much from that. I mean, he really looks a lot like a dinosaur. The only thing that can really take him apart from that is maybe the feathering. But then again, it's been said, there's rumors, not necessarily rumors, but there's discussions talking about whether the dinosaurs themselves actually had feathering versus full-on scales, but it's in the air, honestly. But what really sets him apart, what made it a little bit different, was his nose. Now, when his nasal cavity shot out through the top of his head, everyone was like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. And me personally, I thought that was a very cool way to kind of not necessarily bridge the gap, but kind of make him feel like his own particular beast. Now, another part of the anatomy I kind of want to talk to you guys about is that whenever he gets enraged, he will spread wings from his back. Now, one thing I would like to really talk to you guys about, because I'm not 100% sure for myself, and maybe you can kind of help me understand it a bit better, but when he shows his wings on his back, he may be in between 2 different stages of his own particular evolution. He could actually trying to evolve into a type of monster who actually has wings and is dependent on them, much similar to a flying wyvern, or because he is technically a bird wyvern, because you see the feathering on his back, he may have came from a bird wyvern, making his transition fully over to a brute wyvern. So maybe he's losing those wings and losing his feathering, things like that. It's not necessarily 100% clear, and me personally, I'm not 100% sure as to actually what camp to put him in. But as it stands, I like to think that he might be trying to make his way from bird wyvern to brute wyvern, because I mean he has more prominent brute wyvern features on his body, with a little bit of the feathers left over and what seemed to be rather some vestigial wings. But that's kind of what I feel about him in terms of his aesthetic. I mean, he really is a pretty interesting looking monster once you really get to understand what he's really all about. But from the outset, he did look kind of like a dinosaur that kind of, like I said before, gave me a little bit of lukewarm impressions from the beginning. But one thing I want to note though is that even though he's in this the beta, we actually do get to wear his armor. Now, we do not get to see any of his weapons, and it stands to reason that if anything, his weapons would be fire based, because he himself can breathe fire, and the armor has fire resistance on it as well. So his armor looks really interesting. Truth be told, if you guys kind of look further back and look at how the Raytheon armor looked from before, on, if anything, the males, I can't 100% confirm on the females, it looks a little different on the females, but at least from the male standpoint, the Anju armor looks very similar to that of the Raytheon armor for the males. For the females, though, however, you can look at that and kind of see where it took liberties from the Dalmadur design, give it the whole, like, half cape, like, rugged Viking looking cape thing. It's hard to really explain, but maybe kind of know what I'm talking about. But the armor looks really nice, truth be told. I'll admit, the Raytheon armor, the only thing that really set me off from it was the coloring. I didn't necessarily like the coloring too much on the Raytheon armor. Granted, I mean, I can't really get mad at that, because that's just the color of the Raytheon. The Raytheon is green, so the armor had to be green as well. But this particular blackish armor with the grays and things like that, I kind of like that aesthetic. So maybe when the game fully comes out, I'll probably make his weapons, his armor. But his weapons, like we said, yet to be seen. But it stands to reason that they very well may be a fire-based element. Now, one thing I like to really think about is him being in this game. He is, well, in the beta anyway, he was the middle monster, so to speak. You had the low end monster, which was the Joggers, the middle being the Anju, and the high end, or the Apex, like I said in the game. Not like Apex as in like Monster Hunter 4, but Apex as in like the top of the food chain. He was in the middle between Joggers and Rathalos. So it makes me wonder, where will he be once the game fully comes out, and how much does he play a part in the story? Because again, he was the first monster we've seen introduced to the series, well, the 5th generation, of course. Granted, we did get to see Rathalos later on, but he was the first monster we actually got to see. He remained prominent within the trailers and even in the beta, so who knows exactly where he stands in the grand scheme of things. But I would like to say he's like middle of the ground, probably not quite like flagship area, so maybe like this is what I would like to call it as. He might be high end tier 2. Let me explain tiers really quickly for you guys for Monster Hunter so that we understand where I'm coming from a little bit better. Okay, so when you build equipment in Monster Hunter, you have rarities. Now I'm only going to be talking about rare 1, 2, and 3, because once you go to high rank and G rank, it's just the same 1, 2, and 3 all over again. So rare ones, or yeah, rare 1 I'll say would be like monsters like the Great Jaggy, and you know, all the smaller, really lesser monsters like the Arzuros, you know, guys that are really weak but apparently have their own armor set. Now rare 2 will be guys like the Barrett, you know, and like the Roy Ludroth, guys like that. And rare 3 will be your flagship monsters, you know, usually, and other monsters who are roughly around the same area once you fight the flagship monster. So I'm thinking like Brachytos, Ignactor. Guys from the 4th generation will probably include like Zamtrios and the like right there. I want to say that Anju will probably slot right in on that high-end rare 2 slot. So a high-end rare 2 will probably be a monster similar to Giganox, because right after Giganox, boom, Lagiacrus. So maybe Anju's probably right in there when it comes to that. But that's kind of how I feel his placement would technically be. So it makes sense that his armor and weapons will probably be fairly pivotal for a lot of people trying to make their way up through the ranks, because they'll probably get it because it has attack on it, and fire is always really good. And most of the time fire will probably come from Rathalos, and Rathalos tends to be later in the game, so it'd be nice to have a good fire type monster earlier on, so that way you can build your base from there. And maybe from here we can go to places like, I don't know, like maybe a tundra. I'm not sure if they actually what's it called officially announced that there would be a tundra area, or an ice area of some sort, but it would be great to actually introduce that particular area in the story right after you fight the Anjus. That way you have a fire weapon or something like that to go in and do some serious damage with. But that's what I feel about the gear. I mean, it's all speculation as it stands right now. I'm just kind of making this up as I go, but let me know what you guys think about that, because I mean, it sounds about right. Yeah, I'm not really one for speculation, but it just kind of sounds nice. But at the end of the day, it's all about the Anju himself, and for the most part, I really like the monster as it stands. I was a little bit skeptical at first, you know, but after I got to fight him a little bit to see that he actually has a fire breath as opposed to a fireball, that was really cool. When he gets enraged, you know, his body changes up a little bit. He has a really cool pinning attack, but all in all, he's fairly nice. As a Brute Wyvern, I welcome his entry, because we don't really have any Brute Wyverns that breathe any fire outside of Deviljho, and he only not breathe any actual fire, but it has like breath, needless to say. But that'd just be the Deviljho. But regardless, you know, that's how I feel about my man. Pretty solid monster, maybe not my favorite, but he's still really cool nonetheless. And thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy. Take care.